the guests at Bastille Day, and it was one of the greatest parades I've ever seen. And to a large extent, because of what I witnessed, we may do something like that on July 4th in Washington, down Pennsylvania.
Well, he didn't get the military parade on the 4th of July this year, so the White House started looking at a special Veterans Day parade. But now that's not happening either. The president canceled the parade today, citing the expense, which reports noted could cost more than $90 million. Here with me now is John Soltz, an Iraq War veteran and the chairman of Vote Vets, a nonprofit that advocates on behalf of veterans, and Sam Seder, MSNBC contributor and host of The Majority Report. Gents, good to have you here. John, let me start with you. What are your thoughts on the... I don't even know if I want to give you space to talk about your thoughts on the parade. It was a stupid idea, but what are your thoughts on the cancellation of the parade?
Thank God there's no reason that all of our troops who are serving overseas have to march down the parade or march down Constitution Avenue to appease Donald Trump's ego. It costs a lot of money. It affects training and it affects readiness. And it's reminiscent of this, dictator type environment that Donald Trump's established, where it's similar to the stuff we'd see in North Korea. It's
obvious why he likes the parade.
And yes, but it's of no benefit for our military. We're proud to see it canceled. In fact, we even applied next year on Veterans Day to have a 5K run to benefit veterans homelessness in D.C. on the exact same time and date, so we can show Donald Trump.
So you've applied for a permit to be on the mall in a year from now on Veterans Day so that they can't have the parade.
Absolutely, to benefit veterans homelessness, so we can show Donald Trump, what Veterans Day should be all about, which is helping veterans and not his own ego. All
right, there are about, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, there are probably about 40,000 homeless veterans around the country. Veterans are experiencing very high suicide rates, 22% higher for the veteran community than for the community at large. Opioid addiction is higher amongst veterans. I mean, if you got money to spend on anything military, there are better places to spend it than on a parade.
Yeah, I think the money number crushed him in the end, but there's been a lot of people inside the armed forces that didn't support the parade. There's a lot of tension with the Pentagon and the White House. There's a lot of tension with veterans groups in the White House. And I think in the end, this thing just got too far down the line where it cost so much money that Trump didn't want to really own it any longer. And I don't think the Pentagon really wanted to do it. We've been, pounding at Vote Vets opposing the parade from day one, just because it's a ridiculous, preposterous idea. The public didn't want it. And in the end, he found a way to do what he always does, which is lose, but try to turn it into a win.
Let me just ask you this, Sam. We were just talking to Congressman Raskin about what the to-do list for Democrats would be if they won the House. He didn't want to jinx it by saying that was going to happen, but the 538 forecast model says Republicans have a 1 in 4 chance of retaining the House. It's better odds than Donald Trump had to win the election.
That's true. That's true. But it's also better odds for the Democrats than you might have imagined maybe 16 months ago. I mean, I think, who's to say? But we're going to get a better sense, particularly as we get further into September, when we get a sense of who the electorate is. And everything that we've seen up to this point is that Democrats are far more energized. And so,
which is not typically the case. Typically, historically, Republicans have shown out in midterms more than Democrats have. I mean, in greater proportion.
Political scientists will tell you that the party that's out of power will tend to show up more. Democrats, less so, underperform that a little bit. But there's just a tremendous amount of energy on the left. And I don't know that there's really much that can change between now and Election Day that will change that dynamic.
Let's talk about this parade business again. The VA it's a massive department. It's bigger than most people think.
Yep.
In the division of the VA that deals with health care, they have 33,000 vacancies, right? I mean, what does President Trump get out of this parade nonsense?
Self-gratification. I think it makes him feel important. I guess theoretically everybody would be saluting him when they walk by.
I mean, even the conversation about, he said, well, now we're not going to have a parade so we can buy more jets. That's actually not the problem right now with the U.S. military. We're not short of jets. We're short of doctors. We're short of treatment.
We just added 10% to the military budget out of thin air, $70 billion. We have a massive military budget. It doesn't need to be half the size. We are so much larger than the rest of the world combined that it's ridiculous. I mean, so the idea that we would buy more jets, this is just him making excuses. Right. I don't even think the $92 million.
You can't buy a jet for,
No, of course not.
Let me ask you this, John. You guys, ProPublica has a story about how the VA is not really being run by anybody. It's being run by a bunch of Trump cronies without any particular accountability. And Vote Vets is actually suing the Veterans Administration over this.
someone has to do something. And there's a lot of people that have been looking at the VA, including VoteVets, fulling a lot of information out of there, trying to figure out who's in charge. Why was Shulkin fired? Why is privatization being pushed so hard by this administration? ProPublica got the story. That is great. They exposed the fact that some, multimillionaires like Pearl Muter from Marvel Comics books is running the VA from Mar-a-Lago. That's great. What our suit does with Democracy Forward is it basically says, stop. This is in violation of the law. You can't just have your kitchen cabinet running the Department of Veterans Affairs from people that are in your club, because there's all these laws and rules that dictate who's allowed to be on a committee that advises an agency like the Department of Veterans Affairs. So basically what we're asking for is we're going to take this out of the dark, we're going to bring it into the light, and we're going to put veterans into the conversation. And it basically is a stop this right now and tell us everything that's happened. And we pushed it over to the courts, and we'll wait for a decision from a judge.
Veterans should be at the front of any conversation that has the word military in it in this country.
Absolutely.
Far earlier than jets. Guys, thanks very much. John Soltz and Sam Seder, thanks for being here.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.